Call the meeting to order. Join us in the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No.
That was mine. That's
Well, I
yours.
think yours is right there, I think.
Yeah, I see it.
That's mine.
This is-
Hands off it,
This
please.
is upside down. And then it's down.
This is the same picture we have in here, right?
It should be the same one that you just gave us.
I didn't get a copy.
You didn't get a copy.
I didn't get a copy of the check register. You did? Is it in my file?
Maybe Steve took your copy.
Maybe Steve took my copy. I believe that probably happened.
Of course. Oh, would that be able to?
Probably. Doesn't make a brown.
Of course it does.
I like the dark outside.
Did I pass them that way?
Do you know what, Wested is, Andy? Wested?
It's one of our consultants that comes in to work with our teachers. Works for West Ed.
Is there anything in particular that they come in and consult about?
Yep, they're working specifically through our curriculum development process as well as professional development around literacy instruction. Focusing right now on K-3 teachers.
I think that was pretty by your grant.
That's grant money.
Which basically that's the common core, what they do.
That's through curriculum development.
Do you think of this still percent?
Safe school.
What was that time period? Just, is that all year long, or is that just a 3-month period, or the West Ed expenditure? How long did it take for that money to get spent?
It'll be throughout the year. And over the summer.
So it's on upfront pay?
I'm not sure how they're billing us. Do you know that, Mary? Have we received that invoice?
I don't know what you're looking at, but the West Ed contract was for 7,000, and I believe that, or I'm sorry, 17,000, and I believe that's half of that.
Yeah.
That's for you. You want to take both? You asked me to read anything down for you.
Where's the other article, Andy?
Oops, sorry. I didn't leave the signature page exposed.
Sure.
Brutal. This is that one.
I was gonna show him up, don't you?
I left the signature page exposed.
Like that, kinda like that. All right. It's the same one as our packet.
Everybody all set in the manifest?
I'm not 100% sure if I've signed everything yet.
I believe you have.
The West End deal that
Take
was
over.
in this table was the first 50% of the contract, was half of what we would be
Here you go,
paying.
Ralph.
Anywhere else?
Nope, everybody all set. Can I have a motion to approve the manifest?
I'll make that motion.
You're a second.
I'll second it.
Motion a second, all in favor?
Aye.
What we got, can we move that, other, where's the bid, do we have a bid,
Bids are here, but he's emailed them to us because they weren't in the packet.
that's right.
So they needed to be added to wherever you want to put it in.
Well, that's what I was just gonna, before, I would like, if you could just move that up, that purchase up now, and then maybe we can get it taken care of by,
Sure, we have Bob here as well, so we could tackle item number 10 on the agenda. Talk about the heating loop and the
oh yeah, we
tree
can do,
removal and demolition.
all right, so, I will make a motion, that we approve the purchase of the SAU trailer for $1 to Amazon Park.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright,
Aye.
You described it as the SAU trailer, is that?
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
yes, it's been called the SAU trailer from day one. We could save $33,000 a year.
Some of us have called it the SAU trailer since day one.
You know, for $1, we could
Well, the
roll the
trailer.
thing right out in the back and,
$2.
see, Andrew's even smiling about the idea. He likes the idea, see?
It would take $2, you know.
We'll do it for $2.
Well, only because the other bid was $1. You have to beat that bid.
So you abstained, Norma?
Yes.
Okay, so 401. Minutes of the last meeting.
Are you going over these two? Didn't you want to-
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, we're gonna do, well, Bob's there, I apologize. Old business, RFPs on the heating loop and the tree removal and demolition.
On the heating loop, I put that back out to bid as requested, called the 4 companies that had been at the bid walk originally, and we received 1 bid back from them. Package.
Yes, sir.
Mechanical.
That David take us.
That's page 10 of that document. recommending tying in the heating for the primary unit further,
96, page 96
further
to
upstream,
start with.
closer to the boiler room.
And then you go to,
So, actually accessing a larger pipe that's fed from the boiler room. So there's more material, more labor in that number.
I'm thinking, for that money, we just keep it status quo.
I'm actually thinking that for that price is $15,000 over what one of the past bids did. And the reason one of the other past bids didn't come in is because we kind of dragged our feet a little bit. But for $15,000, we could wait 6 months and have it done when the gentleman that can do it for 91 can do it.
Yeah, I don't know, I didn't
So I
hear from
think
anybody
you-
else.
Well, I think a couple of the people that bid before thought that those bids, when they came and sent things in, they thought that we were gonna go with those right away. And because we didn't get back to them in sufficient time, they scheduled more work. You know, because most people are bidding, you know, most people are already, you know, booking out a year. They're not booking out 6 weeks, they're booking out a year, so.
Yeah, they were all called on March 6th
Yeah.
in the afternoon, just after our board meeting.
But they had done some of the other like the bids that they had put in before with all the specs and everything were 4 months ago. So they, you know, if you get work promised, you take it.
I wouldn't be in favor of moving forward with that.
On 25.
you know.
I don't know if we should be discussing the numbers because are you
Well, yeah.
considering sending it back out to bid, rejecting the bids and reposting it or?
I don't know, because I would just keep the status quo for that kind of money.
I'd make a motion to reject the bids
Reject the bid.
received and repost the same thing. I mean, that way everybody has an opportunity to rebid.
What about dates?
Maybe we can be a little more flexible with when we want it done. Summer's coming, as long as it can be done before next winter.
Yeah, I would suggest a 30-day, put it out for a 30-day bid period so that everybody had an opportunity to understand it was being resubmitted for bid, for a request for proposal.
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying that's the time frame to which we want the work done. If you say only 30 days, then a lot of people are already booked out for the time frame that we're looking for. If you want better pricing, you have to maybe extend it because any contractor is gonna have already got work set up.
Well, if we accept a bid from somewhere, we can almost dictate when they start, depending on when they're available.
We could put in the bid when we would like the work to start. Is
Yeah.
that the
Right.
concern?
Yeah,
So if we said,
and
Rough time frame, yeah.
yeah,
then any contractor that gave a reasonable bid would be able to tell us, well, I could do it for this price, but just not at that time.
Mhm.
And it would be up to the board to make those decisions, I guess. So my motion would be to reject the proposals in front of us, repost it, put out another RFP for the same job.
Yeah, but-
And
Well, but,
30 days.
but what are we gaining by doing that?
More competitive bidding.
But wasn't it all given out to,
I think if some contractors believed what they had proposed and submitted at one date 4 months ago, may have thought that, may have ignored the last RFP. I don't know what the reason is, but, that's a lot of,
well, I'm just wondering whether what benefit it is to put it out again. We put it out, what now? Twice?
Twice,
Well, we put it out twice.
and both were solicited too. They made calls to bring bids in.
one vendor responded several times via email, just the concern around the lack of an engineering design.
Wow.
Would that happen to be the same person that put a bid in?
I don't believe so.
It's not,
Not? I thought it was, but.
no.
Hmm.
So I guess my motion fails without a second.
Didn't you, I think you did second it.
I seconded for discussion.
Discussion. but
Oh,
you
I'm
just-
sorry.
I guess I just wanna, I don't feel comfortable with the bid. Now that I
No.
know that it can be done for,
Hmm.
yeah,
We would be better off leaving it status
As it
quo
I'm not touching it.
for that kind of money. I wouldn't, it would take too long to recoup.
Your other option, if you were to put it back out to bid, if you look on page 106 in your packet, that first, number one,
Yeah.
you could, that might have been a reason why some didn't submit. You're talking July 1st through July 18th.
That's right.
So if we adjusted that date to extend it out, prior to the end of the summer, or whatever the board would wish, or what your thoughts would be as to when we should have that completed, that might
Oh, you're thinking that we only had from the 1st to the 18th?
Yes,
have
that's what it
17 days
says.
to complete it.
Oh,
so
yeah.
That's why I think that it's tough. And, I mean, you're talking about the first 2 weeks of July. Some business owners take the first 2 weeks of
Yep.
July for vacation.
Yep,
I mean,
they wouldn't even bid for that.
that they're not gonna put it in. So I think that we have to be a little more flexible with that start
Yeah,
and
what-
end.
Why couldn't we, as long as it's done before the beginning of the school year, the start of the school year?
Can't we just put negotiation of start time is negotiable?
But completion date would be I would think would be a
We've got to
fixed
back
date.
off some real amount of time prior to classes come in, because
Yep.
teachers come in, set up their classrooms and such. We have final cleaning we need to do behind the contractor too, and finish the halls down that end.
How long, what would you need, but would 2 weeks be sufficient?
Realistic, I'm thinking, if we gave the vendors the full month of July to turn it around, start end.
Even by August 15th, that
Yeah.
still gives you 2 weeks.
Six
But
in
if
July.
something goes wrong, then you end up really scrambling at the end.
But
Makes it
isn't
pretty
most of the
tough.
tie-in underneath?
No, we're all
Mm,
above, we're
above.
going all the way down the hall, through a classroom, and then down, so.
So Bob, are you recommending July 1st through the end of July?
Right.
Just span that out from July 18th?
Yeah, I mean, the renovation work that we got here, I mean, granted, those were much more invasive, if you will, was covering real estate. But, boy, I tell you, I mean, if we went even to August 7th, you put a risk in there, because if something goes wrong and we slip another whole week, it's gonna be, we're gonna be slamming trying to open. It really hurts us.
Mhm.
I'd say it's gotta be a July window, or back to, Mr. Brown's point, skip a year. And reconsider at a future year, get it out earlier. We put it out next
Well, we could
September
try.
and
We
ask
could
for
try
a
the
schedule
July.
the following year.
What was the situation where there was a few days where there wasn't heat being circulated down on that side, where the issue that we're talking about, how many days was it problematic? Do you
2, I
remember?
think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, there were 2 consecutive days,
Right.
and we had one, I think we had one other day earlier in the winter where we had an issue.
And it wasn't necessarily the burner, the furnace or anything like that, it was more the circulators, is that right? Or the
No, it was-
thermostats?
It was the board.
It was the boiler.
At this point in time, the heating system's almost gonna be done for the year, maybe.
Andrew?
You want to keep in mind too that when we originally did the proposal for the savings of doing this heating loop, it was going to be a big savings. Now that propane has skyrocketed, we're actually going to be spending more in propane than we would be in oil by doing the heating loop, by changing the furnace. Right now, it's projecting, right now they're saying, and they couldn't give me a definite price, but around between $3 and $3.30 for propane. If it stays that way, it's gonna be double what we're paying, almost triple what we're paying now.
Right, so your savings are basically gone.
It's actually a cost now of almost $5,000 more a year.
Well,
I was gonna say, I mean, bringing that out too, I mean, that gives us another point if we delay it for a year. You know, then we have better visibility to the contractors. If we put it out in the fall, we'd have a better idea on the fuel as well too. You know, where things are going.
I don't know if we'll ever have an idea on what fuel's gonna do. You know,
Oh yeah, just as this
it goes
says.
up, it goes down today, and then it goes up for the next 3 months, so no one's really got a crystal ball. It always seems to do opposite of whatever everyone expects it to do.
And Ralph moved the question, and Ralph made a motion to,
What's the cost to put this out again?
We're gonna advertise, or we're gonna call 5 or 6 contractors.
What did you do? Did you just call last time?
The first time we advertised and called. The second time we were told to call the ones that did the bid work, because those are the ones that already done that. Okay.
So it'd be
So
like,
we could, our call list would be 6 or 7 contractors and posted on the web would be short money.
going in the paper is like $130, I think.
The paper's gonna delay you if you're in Carroll County.
deny and reconsider.
Wait, you mean? Till next year?
Reconsider.
Reconsider it next year? Well, that, we'd have to get, Mr. Fogg to,
We could vote my motion down. I'll vote against it.
Ross, you,
Well, if you're talking about the fuel costs, no savings, then we might as well have a wait period for that.
well, yeah, it looks like it's gonna triple.
And it's a no-brainer.
And why do I think it's so much? It's a no-brainer.
So,
Move the question to
You
deny
wanna-
the bids.
well, we can't, we already got a motion on the floor.
That's what it was, to deny the bid.
No.
To reject
Well,
To
to
reject.
reject it and put it back out again for an RFP. So there's a motion on the floor to reject the current bid and to put it back out, the RFP back out. Motion second, all in favor? Opposed?
Aye.
Aye.
Now I'll make a motion just to reject the bid, put the project off until,
Further notice?
Until some point in the future.
well, the emergency fund's there, right? If there was a breakdown, there's already a contingency fund or emergency fund for it.
Mm.
All right, so my motion would be to reject the bids received and come back to this issue in the fall, or at a later date. I guess we could say that too. Sorry, Mr. Brown. Can I get a second for my motion?
You'll get a second from me.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
We have $37,770 in the boiler trust fund.
All right, you got a tree and removal and demolition, Bob?
Just an update, just a statement, the bid walk is April 21st at 9. And it's, I had it originally due on May 7th, and that actually ended up being when the board would meet again at 4 o'clock, so the timing in that would be messed up. I think I should pull that in by one day, just to get the bids in on May 6th, Tuesday.
What is
site walk's the 21st,
21st of April, right.
and the bids due,
The original, the document says bid due May 7th, but that's the day of our meeting.
the trees, the tree removal?
Wasn't that already shed, okay.
They're two separate RFPs. We did the demolition RFP, which is what was in the packet for tonight, and then the tree removal RFP was due the 7th of May.
The site walk's the 21st, and you're talking about the 7th, so 2 weeks and 2 days. And give it, is that enough time to get bids
Well,
back on
I guess if you wanna move it up to the 6th, I see Bob's point, because it could be 4 o'clock after the meeting's already begun.
it? Right, I'm just thinking, you think that's enough time to get
Yep.
bids back on it?
I do. How about you? Do you think it's enough time?
Oops. I don't know, that's what I'm thinking.
We could open the bids at the facilities meeting before the board meeting and then bring it to the board afterwards.
Yeah, but if it's still on the 7th, somebody might walk in the building at
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock and present a
Well, if they
bid.
do it at 4, then we can't accept anything after 4 o'clock.
But I'm saying, well, I think Bob's saying if it was on the 6th, then we wouldn't have to worry about that particular issue.
One day before.
Michael?
I'd agree with Bob. Same thing we did with the demolition RFP is we had it due yesterday at 4 o'clock. We were able to send that information out to the board via email that night, and so you have some time to review it prior to coming to the meeting the next day on the 7th. So I would agree if we bumped it back to the 6th, it would give the board an opportunity to at least review the materials prior to coming to the meeting.
Do we need a motion to amend the request for
Do we?
bids? Yeah, I'll make a motion to amend the RFP to have a deadline of May 6th for submittals.
So a second.
I'll second it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Where you sold it?
Yes.
Yeah,
Want to make that motion?
if you'd like, sure.
I'd like to make a motion to reject the bids for modular home and shed removal that have been received, as the unit has been sold for $1.
I'll second the motion.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you send thank you for bidding notes to the people?
I was going to ask a question about that. We can do that.
I just think
And
that's
to
polite.
have it, just asked for just a response on the bids, you know, how the bids ended up falling out, which could be just a summary sheet. We could send that to them. We could post it if you wanted to in the web as well.
Well, I think thank you notes, thanking them for bidding is important, and if the unit is sold
Okay.
and removed by purchaser. And you can always invite them to bid on the tree and demolition.
So part
Anybody
of
want?
that bid was the shed too, right?
Mhm.
Correct.
So we still need to decide what to do with the shed.
Barbecue. It's not that big, I
Should that be
think
a science experiment for 8th graders or something, bonfire?
Fire department, controlled burn.
Controlled burn for the fire department, maybe?
Could be a safety issue.
A controlled burn for the fire department?
Oh, if the fire department came in, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, handling.
What should they do with that? They
Oh, no.
can do that.
Okay.
I wouldn't ask you to go out and do it. Well, maybe, but no.
well, they were, apparently they were asked, They were asked to do the trailer, but they said no.
A lot bigger.
It's because they
Well,
they
the
pull the
asphalt,
shingles off and then the
shingles
glass
and
out.
all that, but, I mean, from what I've seen of the shed, I mean, it's basically ready to fall over, so,
Are they taking it with them to Amazon Park?
he was looking for a two-car garage, that middle shed he'd like, but I told him, no, that wasn't part of the deal.
All right. Yeah, thank Bob and let him go.
I will.
It's whoever sits in that seat.
All right, Bob, thank you, sir.
Very welcome. Glad to help.
You can go.
Minutes, right?
No, you don't.
Oh, that's because we're doing Bob. Minutes of the last meeting. No one has any,
Very nice minutes, by the way.
yes, very good, Beth.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown.
Oh, I had help,
I have
Mr. Church.
one. I have a
You can call me Bob, though.
kneecap.
That, yeah.
Is that
you
kneecap? I
prefer
just
that?
don't, I
Yes,
gotta
please.
find out
Okay.
where it is.
It's page 4, first bullet.
Page 4, the first bullet. You have kneecap as literally kneecap, so it's N-E cap, not K-N-E-E.
Okay, M-E,
It's
N,
N, capital N, capital E, capital A, capital C, capital A, capital P. Stands for New England Common.
Where are we going?
Page 4, bullet 1.
School under SAU 64. The first bullet under SAU 64.
got it.
Do on,
I'll make a motion to approve the Wednesday, March 19th, 2014 school board meeting minutes as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there any reason why we can't do the non-public now? And if there's no reason we can't, can I have a motion to approve the non-public of March 19th?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain. Wasn't there?
That's why you didn't second it.
And, public comment. Mary, I have your correspondence, if you'd like to, you're here, if you'd like to read it,
No, you can read it.
if you want. All right, well, no public comment, correspondence, I did receive correspondence from Mary Collins. Does the Paul School need an outside food service? Mrs. Chick has been with the school for 20-plus years. Why isn't she in charge? She has the knowledge and experience. Bonnie?
I can answer that. We're reevaluating every year what's best for the school. Everybody seemed to be unhappy with the way that it was before when we were running it in-house. And then everybody seems to be unhappy on how it is when, you know, you can't please everybody. It's like some people wanted change, and now that you bring them change, they're still unhappy, and you can't please everybody all the time. So we are reevaluating. A survey was done at, a couple months ago. The kids were asked what they like, what they want, what they expect, and the parents were also able to write in on that. And we had parents that said, you know, the food wasn't bad, but the portions, their kids just eat more. They need more, and You know, and so we have a whole bunch of stuff, and Bob and I, as the cafe services reps, have an informational meeting set up on the 17th, and we're gonna revisit everything once again. And we're not, you know, I think before it was money.
Well,
We were losing a lot of money, and now we didn't lose any money last year. So we're trying to figure out what's best.
Is another
did.
survey going to go out?
A survey has gone out already.
Was that a couple months ago? Is that the one you're talking about?
Yep.
Is there a new one that's gonna come out, or?
We had asked if we could have a survey. What we specifically asked for was the children's surveys are sent home. So they're seen hopefully by the parents too. And then we are asking for a staff survey where they partake in the food as well. And then we'll gather that information and see what we come up with. You know, the kids want chicken nuggets and pizza and sorbet. And needless to say, that doesn't meet the healthy requirements all the time. And, you know, I still have issues with waste. And I want the kids to have something that makes them happy. And I think that Bob and I are going to try and find that happy medium, whether it be with cafe services or it be, you know, there's nothing wrong with a bunch of moms and grandmothers all having a really good job and having homemade food for the kids every day. I still wholeheartedly believe in that. And you can make the food look inviting and taste good. And sometimes I don't think that the way that it's portrayed on a really big tray looks really inviting on a personal level. I don't know if I would want to eat it. And I think that there are ways that it can be presented to the kids in a fresher, happy, healthier way to make them maybe a little more interested in trying red peppers and carrots. And if they need dip to get it down the first few times so that they can acquire a taste for a fresh vegetable, I'm all for that too. But I think meeting the guidelines, we're really going to have to look at that and say, you know, are we going to do it with cafe services again next year? Are we going to try it on our own? What are we going to do?
but I think the biggest driver of it all was money. The 5 previous years that before cafe services was brought in, we were in the whole 340 some odd $1,000.
But wasn't that like didn't something happen?
No, not really. It's basically just the cost of food, the cost of employees, and it's just maybe the efficiency. We're not 100% sure. We're looking into everything. We want all the parents to know that Bob and I talk about this frequently. We ask for input from the teachers, from the building, and we understand. I think I know what a child wants to eat, but there are ways to make things very delicious.
Changes every day though.
Well, it does change every day, but kids change every day.
Yeah.
And I think if maybe we could find a happy medium and maybe some recipes that can be a little deceptively delicious, which I've always done. You know, there are ways that you can put vegetables into food and the kids are not going to know they're eating them until they find out that they like the flavor of it. Sorry if you don't like that answer, but welcome to meatloaf. You know, there's cauliflower and chickpeas in there and mushrooms on most times, and they don't know they're eating it, and they do now, so I'm in big trouble. But I think that we have to look how to be fresh, happy, healthy, presentable, and within the standards if we choose to follow the government portions.
And if I can speak,
Sure.
and if the kids are not happy, you know, if they want an apple, I mean, I think that's something we should do for that too. You know, if they're not full and they want an extra apple, we should be able to end up giving them an apple for them to eat the rest of that too.
You know, and one of the biggest things is that the kids don't like the wheat crust on the pizza. They don't like the wheat crust. Whatever happened to a traditional English muffin pizza? Easy to make, not that fattening, or pita crust pizza. Anybody who's gone to college knows that you can live on pita crust pizza. It's part of college, and the kids like it. It's thin and crisp. It's healthy. They're not going to know the difference between a white or a wheat pita with a little sauce and cheese on it. They're not going to know the difference if it's crisp. So we're gonna look at all of that. We have a meeting set up. We wanna go over recipes. We wanna go over like what's popular, what's not popular. And the kids were very, very specific about what they liked and didn't like.
Do you have any parents involved, or are you inviting any parents to
To the first
into the
meeting,
discussion?
probably
or-
to the first meeting, no, because we want to see, we have questions that we want answers to, and we would be happy to have like maybe a public, you know, maybe at some point to have parents come in. But if you would like another parent survey sent out, we can happily ask them to do another one, and they will. But I think that from some of the answers and the grammar, you know the children, because we have like verbatim, word for word, what the kids wrote down, and you know which children wrote it and you knew which parents wrote it, and I think it probably goes by grade. But they want pizza, fish sticks, sorbet,
Chicken nuggets.
chicken nuggets. Some kids want homemade macaroni and cheese. They want homemade shepherd's pie. That's what they're asking for. They want garlic bread. Probably not the best thing to give them, but once again, there's always a way to make it healthy. So, and they're asking for soups and salads. And then, so we're discussing that, and we know that it's a concern to some and not a concern to others because they have cold lunch, but we definitely are looking into it again.
And then the second half of Mary's was, if we have a flow throughout the school that allows the students to study at different grade levels based on abilities, wouldn't a child that has to go to a lower grade level mean that they have not mastered the skills to move forward and should have stayed in that grade and not moved forward?
Yes.
Yes, it's an easy answer.
At this point in time, we don't hold a lot of kids back anymore. And it's just how things are. And you're absolutely right. Yes, you're right.
What?
That's the
You're
goal.
looking at me.
You were looking at me.
You had to move your head.
That's the
That's
goal.
what you said at the last meeting, I
Yes.
remember.
That's what we're moving toward.
But once again, if you have one child that is maybe a little weak in one area and has to go down for the first 3 or 4 weeks of school just so that they can succeed and master that, they're great on everything else except that one key. Maybe it's fractions. Maybe sevens mess them up and they didn't quite master it, and they need like 2 or 3 weeks. There might be other reasons why not to hold the child back for a complete year, because they might be super successful in a whole bunch of other areas and just need that one focus. So I mean, I think that there's reasons for
Do we
everything.
still have summer programs where it can help the kids over the summer before they advance to a high grade?
Typically, that's only for special education. Then we have the summer programming. That's been a typical course here.
I don't remember the last time that we had summer school for failing students.
Right.
I do when I was in it. A long time
It's an
ago.
honest question, Mayor. Don't
Every
be
summer.
upset for asking it. It's a good, solid question. Areas that may need to be looked at.
A summer program, we would have to have a discussion when we're developing the operating budget. That's something we'd have to budget for summer programming, particularly out for general education students, which is what you're referring to.
So,
Yes, I sent my questions to Mr. Tercey and the board. So if you'd like to address them.
How would you like to handle this, Mr. Chair? I could read the question and provide an answer, or
Mine.
if Mrs. Colbath wants to ask the question and I'll respond. However you'd like to do that, I'm more than happy to answer the question.
Sure, if you want to read it. I thought Priscilla had something on curriculum that she wanted to.
She had sent an email out that's had the whole board on the email, and the questions were attached. It was after the packet was already developed, so it's not in the packet. It was via email. However, I
think I saw it.
I do have the questions, and I'll be happy to provide some answers.
All right.
Just not sure how you'd like.
Good.
Okay. The first question is, why do you say that the Paul School has no curriculum? I believe that question's being posed to me. At one of the board meetings, I made the comment that we were unable to locate the curriculum, which was a concern for us. There was work that was done in the past. I want to make sure that the community is very aware of that there was work that was done in the past. However, it was difficult to locate those documents. We did some research on the historical perspective of curriculum development, and any of the documents that were prior to the move from the SAU location in Union, those documents, my understanding, didn't make it to the move at our current location. And starting in 2009, the process for curriculum development began again with an alignment of standards. And on our website, there is posted the math curriculum, which was developed in 2009, and there are also some documents, and I can show you those as well, for reading, science, and social studies. However, they were on a flash drive. We found the flash drive in a desk, and some sporadic documents were available throughout the email system. So there was work that was done in the past. It was just a matter of locating it, and the only documents that we currently have are the ones that were developed from 2009 on. So my comment was based on the fact that we didn't have a located curriculum. However, there was curriculum work that was done in the past with standards. Let's see. The next question was, how do you define curriculum? It's a simple definition for me. I'd like to keep the definition of curriculum simple, and that's a clearly defined continuum of learning is what, to me, what a curriculum is. So you should be able to see a continuum of learning from kindergarten through 12th grade, in this case kindergarten through 8th grade, where it's very clear as to what's being taught based on what standards and throughout a school year. So it clearly defines that continuum of learning. That's a curriculum to me. Next question is, how do you explain the new math curriculum posted on the Paul School website under the curriculum heading? That was the one document that was located, that was posted on the website. So that's why that one is there. That was developed through a consultant. His name was Dr. Mahesh Sharma, who actually still currently works with us. Let's see. Next question was, can you provide a detailed document that identifies the Common Core standards, that identifies the flaws within them, and how you are planning to go above and beyond? The great link to actually access all of the Common Core standards, which I want to be clear, that's only for English language arts and mathematics, is www.corestandards.org. You can download the documents. It'll show you all of the standards for English language arts as well as mathematics. However, I have not seen a document, and I even researched this, that actually goes into those standards and identifies flaws in those standards, which was part of the question. So I didn't see a document that exists that goes detailed through all of the standards that identifies flaws. And the latter part of the question is, how are you planning to go above and beyond? Really, what we're really planning on doing is focusing on the personalized learning approach and making sure that we have high expectations for instruction to address the personal needs of each individual student. and utilizing standards to develop curriculum to modify lesson plans in order to address the needs of each student. And that is, in my opinion, having a higher expectation for our standards that are within the curriculum, but also, more importantly, the instruction that happens within the classroom. Next question is, what are the current standards being utilized at Paul School, and in what areas are they lacking? The current standards that are being utilized in science and social studies are our New Hampshire grade span expectations, and that will not change. There aren't any other standards that we're planning on utilizing for science and social studies. We're currently beginning to, I shouldn't say beginning, we're basically 2 years into implementing Common Core state standards in math and language arts. Not to the full scale, because there's still work that needs to be done around curriculum. In our unified arts classes, our art, music, technology education, those courses utilize what are known as national frameworks as well as state frameworks. So those are the standards that are being used at the Paul School, and that's what our students are getting now, and that's what teachers are designing their units and their lessons based on those standards. Next question is, are you going to have parent meetings to explain what Common Core is and how it will be implemented at Paul School? We do not have any plans at this time for those parent meetings. To me, it's something that we could do. We'd have to discuss what that would look like. However, I raised the question as to, the Common Core was adopted 3 years ago, and schools have been moving forward over the past 3 years. So we would be late in the game getting that information out to parents at this time. So we'd have to figure out how we would present that information, knowing that it's already been in practice. Next question is, how long should we expect it to take to come up with the additional higher standards that the board asked for? I want to make sure that the community is aware and the board is aware that we're not currently in the process of developing standards. That's quite a lengthy process. We are currently developing a curriculum based on standards, and that's a minimum of a 3-year process to develop a full curriculum K-8 in all content areas. Minimum 3 years. Next question is, when do you plan to meet with parents regarding the new math program that has been implemented this year? Second part of that is, you had said when you discussed the purchase of the new textbooks, you would have a parent forum regarding the new math. I wasn't aware of that comment. That was before I was here. However, if we're sensing that there's a need to have that meeting, I feel that we should coordinate that. So to answer the question, there isn't a plan at this time, but I'll speak with Mr. Gregoire and Ms. Wilson about putting together a potential parent forum around the new math program and answer any questions parents might have. The next question is, will Paul School be involved with any pilot testing of the new Smarter Balance testing? The answer to that is no. Will the board make sure administration makes parents aware that they can opt out of the testing? It's still unclear if this is an option to opt out, because the initial administration of Smarter Balance assessment for the spring of 2015 is considered a pilot. So it's still unclear to us as administrators throughout the state as whether this is an option or not. So once I have more information on that, we would obviously, if it is an option, we would want to make people aware of that. And this question is, are you looking at any alternate testing to Smarter Balance? The answer to that is yes. There's actually conversations happening around the state right now for potential for 3 options for local assessments. And it was nice to hear at our last superintendent's meeting with the commissioner that there is potential to, well, I shouldn't say there's potential, but there's really a movement for more of local control within the state, and that also ties into assessments. So we are looking at alternate, there's options such as utilizing, as I mentioned in a prior meeting, Ready Step as an assessment, PSATs as an assessment, SATs for your older grades. You could also look at performance assessments, which are based on competencies, which would be very applicable here to the Paul School. So there are options, and we're looking into all those options.
Can I, my understanding, the commissioner made the statement that she'd like to move away from local control?
That's absolutely incorrect. I was sitting at the meeting. That's the opposite of what she said. Completely opposite.
Well,
That has been changed, Steve. They found out from one of the superintendents that she didn't say that.
well, did you have your hand up?
I think I just had my question answered. Thank you.
You're welcome. Last question is, how much time will be devoted to professional development to the new standards and smarter balance testing? Will any of this take place during the school day, taking teachers out of the classrooms? My response to that is we'll take as much time as we need to be successful in making sure that we are developing curriculum based on standards, and any training that would be necessary for assessments, we'll make sure that we're providing as much professional development as necessary to make sure that we're successful here in Wakefield. Will it take place during the school day? I've always said that I want to avoid pulling teachers out of the classrooms for professional development. Sometimes that is not an option, particularly if you have extensive work that needs to happen. We look at time outside of the regular school day, such as in the afternoons, and also summer work for professional development. However, there are times when you have extensive professional development that's necessary within the district to have teachers out of the classroom beyond what they can also attend based on their contract for professional development opportunities. So we try to avoid pulling teachers out of the classroom as much as possible. Administrators here will know that I'm a big fan of keeping teachers in the classrooms. And those are all the questions that were presented.
Can I ask a couple of questions from your answers? Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead.
Okay. I just wonder why the science and social studies curriculum that's just recently been developed over the last couple of years isn't on the website, if the math curriculum is.
Well, what it can do is, since we've discovered the documents, we can post those on the website. Those will change, but we could post those on the website if necessary. I must say that they're incomplete documents, so my concern about posting it on the website is that I don't want people to have an impression that we have a complete curriculum document in those content areas, because they are not complete.
And I will tell you, there is a real need for this parent meeting about the math curriculum. I've heard from a lot of people, I've read a lot of things from that parents have said about how confusing this is, and they really want a parent meeting to get an explanation of how to help their children. So it might be a real good idea to do that.
Great.
And the last question is, the Common Core, you said, was instituted or begun 3 years ago. And my question is, why wasn't there parent input, or why didn't you let parents, not you particularly, why weren't parents aware of it 3 years ago? I mean, you said it's been 3 years, so it's too late.
It's never too late.
I can't answer that question, Priscilla, because I didn't have
Do you think
control
it's a
of
good
that.
idea to explain to parents what Common Core is and take their questions?
I do think I think it's a good idea. As I said, and as we all know, you could find pros and cons in the explanation. So if the board would like for us to do that, then we'll be more than happy to move forward with that.
Thank you.
There hasn't been any explanation to anybody.
That's true.
And that's the biggest part of the, one of the biggest parts of the problem that I have with it. And then, whether or not, but you did say something, Mr., that she's supporting local control?
Mm-hmm.
Well, that doesn't make sense to me, because local control has been around for how long? So now, out of the blue, she's supporting local control?
I think it was Anne Marie or Kathy Dutton that had posted, they talked to a superintendent, and she did not say that she wanted to take local control away. I don't know about the supporting, but.
Right,
that was
but now just, I mean, I'm just saying, to Mr. Tercey stated that she didn't make the statement to do away with local control, but I question why all of a sudden she would make a statement to support local control.
And Mr. Brown, I will never put words in the commissioner's mouth.
And can we get, you go to these meetings, can we get a write-up on what's going on at these meetings?
I plan to present that whenever there's a superintendent's meeting with the commissioner, I'll have that as part of my report, and report that out. I started that last month.
Thank you, but and give it to us in the package so we have it?
If that's what you'd like, I can write it up.
Right, please. All right. Did you have?
I did. I wanted, there was a meeting in June where Math in Focus was presented to the board, and Mr. Gregoire stated that he wanted the teachers and staff to be more informed with the Math in Focus before it was shared with the parents. So I would like a meeting to explain the Math in Focus soon. I think there's 10 weeks left.
We'll coordinate a meeting.
New business, curriculum.
So,
Mr. Tercey?
what I wanted to do under this section is really give you an idea of the curriculum documents that have been developed in the past, as well as what we're currently doing, just to give the board an idea as to the direction we're moving. If you look in your packet, the curriculum documents that were provided between 2009 and 2010, and I actually have some of those documents here. Pull them up. Just, I'd like for you to see the difference in what we're doing now compared to what was done in the past, and the reason why we're moving in a direction of, and I'll say this, a more detailed curriculum that does define that continuum of learning. Guest user, Jerry. Bumping me out here. Okay. So in your packet you have the curriculum documents for 2009 and 10. You'll see that, let's see, that's on page 7. This is an example of what we currently have for a grade 1 English language arts curriculum. And the way this is categorized is, and you have a column that states the standard, which is our current grade level expectations that the state has prior to the adoption of Common Core. And then next to that you have the essential concept, student-friendly language, materials, and then assessments. And that's what the majority of the documents look like, even when you go through science, social studies, and mathematics. And what you'll see is that, in my opinion, if I was to hand this to a parent, which is an intent to make sure parents are very clear on what's being taught and when it's being taught and the standards that are being addressed, I see that there's many gaps in this document. So in comparison to this document, I'd like for you to look at the hard copy that I brought for the board for what we're currently doing. And you'll see that the categories at the top are much more, it's right there, Mr. Brown.
Big one.
This one here. What was done in the past, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns that were necessary. And in this, you'll see that we actually have what's known as a unit topic, so we're specific to the unit that is being developed for teachers. So if you look at the first unit, it's based on autobiographies. And this again is a grade 1 English language arts curriculum document that's currently being worked on. It's not complete, but it's currently being worked on. So as a teacher, as a parent, as an administrator, I know that between September 1st and November 7th, the students are going to be learning about autobiographies. And the next columns, the language standards, the reading standards, and the speaking and listening standards, and the writing standards are all in that one unit. Those are the standards that are being addressed. And then what's still being developed, which you actually received some documents on in your packet, those just need to be put into the spreadsheet where we talk about the essential questions, concepts, the unit skills, the assessments, the core activities, the materials, the resources, the integration of other subjects, and vocabulary to reinforce or review, and new vocabulary. All of that will be part of this document, so it's very clear that this is everything that's being addressed in that time frame. Bonnie? I'm sorry.
I see traditions, holidays. How about President's Day?
I don't believe that unit has been actually fleshed out yet.
He's being facetious.
Mr. Brown.
Well, no, traditions, holidays.
Right.
What's wrong with President's Day?
Right. And
Can I just interrupt to ask a question? I know that this is the format that you're utilizing. I guess as a board member, I'm sitting here and I'm extremely concerned that you say it's going to take 3 years to implement K-8. That means our 5th graders aren't going to have it implemented until they're in the 8th grade. Is there not, and I guess this is my biggest question, is there not a successful curriculum already in place that we could adopt so that the board could say to all of the parents that starting September 1st or August 23rd, whenever we're starting, that these will be in place, they will be monitored, and it will be taken care of. I can't imagine that there's not already a successful model where kids are excelling and everyone is like, I can't imagine that there's not something already in place that we can't utilize, rather than doing 3 years of work.
I was hoping that it would be.
Doesn't someone already have that going on and is successful with it, that we could?
the
I tried to show.
the districts or states or schools that are successful developed their own. And that's the major part of curriculum development, is learning the process and owning it. What teachers are currently doing is taking what they are currently doing and putting it into a format that can be utilized for future teachers, current teachers, parents. So we have the information to go into this document. It's just a matter of getting it into the document, but more importantly, understanding how these standards flow through the grade levels. So I personally am not a fan of just taking a curriculum that someone else developed, adopting that, because what happens with that is it ends up sitting on a shelf because the staff did not develop it on their own, nor has it been customized to the needs of their students, because it depends on different regions and different demographics.
Okay, I understand that,
So
but
I'm not a fan of that.
I understand that you may not be a fan of it, but are we failing the kids that are in the building right now because they don't have it? Like
No.
right now, we know that not every child that's in, say, all 5th and 6th graders aren't getting the same lessons, is what you said at the last meeting, that we couldn't guarantee that each classroom was being taught the same exact things, so that when they moved up to the next level, that they were all on target and that all of them had learned what they were supposed to learn. So that tells me that that's another 3 years of this, and that really bothers me. And if you have all the information, and it just has to be put into this, and I know I make it sound simple, but say all the teachers have the information, why can't it be done quicker so that more kids can be more successful? And if it means more time being spent on it to make sure that it gets done, I mean, it bothers me that you say another 3 years.
And that's what it comes down to, is time
Well,
to do the work. So, you know, if we need to provide a lot of time to do this work and not taking them out of the classrooms, then it extends out over the school year, over the years to do the work.
at what point in time do we as a board look at, you're gonna do K through 3. We're gonna sacrifice these teachers for a week, and you're gonna have a drilling session to get that curriculum done, and then a week after that, you're gonna have 4th and 5th, and you're gonna hammer it out. And, you know, if it takes 2 weeks of substitutes, I guess there's gonna be a point in time when parents would rather have teachers out of the classroom for a shorter amount of time overall and have the curriculum in place so that on the website, curriculum, you can go on, and if you have a first grade student, you're gonna be able to click and print what the framework is and everything your child's supposed to know. I don't think that 3 years, I think it's too long. And I mean, what would be other options? Like, I know you don't want to take teachers out of the classroom, but is that a sacrifice maybe the district is willing to make so that we're not waiting another 3 years for our kids to be coordinatedly successful?
And that would be a discussion that we'd also have to have through the budget development process, because that would be a very expensive endeavor in substitutes.
Failed students, even's worse.
You know, how we want to approach it, and still maintain the integrity of the instruction that's happening in the classroom. That's something that it's always a challenge.
Was there anything in those documents that Ralph turned in last meeting and that we could possibly use out of there?
Well, I brought those documents hoping that they would be copied and distributed to our board members so that we had an opportunity to look at them and try to grasp some concepts out of it ourselves. So they've just been returned. I don't think we've had really a chance to do our homework and
No, I haven't.
submit anything, you know, as a recommendation.
Are these?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they are. These are.
Yes.
Okay. Well, yeah. We haven't had a chance to look at it. Okay. I'm sorry. I thought. Mary.
I just need to clarify something in regards to all the grades right now are working on the curriculum. It's not just K through 3. K through 3 is receiving the lion's share of the curriculum development piece that is over and above what the rest of the grades are. But all the grades are in the process of developing the curriculum. When we have early release days and teacher professional days, that's what we're doing in district. So that is being developed.
Doesn't 3 years seem like an awfully long time to you?
If teachers already had units designed and had a really good sense of what the standards are asking them to be able to make sure that the instruction is up to rigor, then I would say it would be a long time. They could plug it in and it wouldn't take that long. But teachers don't have the units designed.
They must be, because they're teaching something already.
What they're teaching is the programs, not a
Doesn't that
coordinated
open up doesn't
unit
that open up
design.
every child in this building to failure then?
Mm-hmm.
Not having any consistency? That doesn't sit well with me at all.
That's why it's important to do this work.
And 3 years is too long.
Well, but if you look at what's being done, you can not only see why it's being projected as 3 years, but really, this is nothing less than dumbing it down and teaching to a test. This is all, and I have a problem with this. This is nothing less than just teaching to a test. Sitting the kids in front of a computer and keeping them in queue. They'll eventually pass the test.
No.
This is,
You've said that multiple times. Do you have solutions that we can bring to them in exchange for what you think is coming?
I'm hoping that's
Yeah.
what these help with.
right. I think the answer to that question is right here. But we haven't had the chance to look at it yet. We just received it just now. But yes, it's my understanding that Massachusetts has been #1 in the country for like the last 4 years. So to say that it would take years and years and years to develop new or standards, and they already exist. There's already better standards out there. I don't get the adamant that we don't, and this, no one said this, but this is the way I'm taking it, is that the adamancy that better standards exist. It's not going to take years to come up with new standards. They already exist. But why are people so adamant that we're going to accept lesser standards? I don't get it. I do not get it when better standards already exist. Why are the Department of Ed and everyone else involved, why is the adamancy to do lower standards than what already exists? There's something that just doesn't pass the smell test here. And it's our kids who are going to be the brunt of that failure of the smell test. This curriculum here, I'm not impressed whatsoever. It's dumbing it down to teach to the test. And that's all that's happening here, is they're teaching to the test, the smarter balanced assessments. And therein lies the problem with national standards. Because this shouldn't be language arts. It should be science and math. Because science and math are language arts are not the drivers for jobs in this country. But being that they're national standards, that's why they can't do science and they need to do language arts.
I feel that language arts, if they can't read or write, they're not going to be able to do the math and science.
Right, but if you looked at it at the kneecaps, we're doing fairly well. And I don't think language arts is a big problem, as big of a problem here in Wakefield as it might be in Detroit or Los Angeles, or the kids would be far better off if there were science standards instead of language arts. By far, they would be better off in the long run. Bonnie.
I like what I've read. I like what I see. I know that there are always going to be children that are more advanced, that need to be challenged more. And our teachers in this building are really good at giving that extra time and that extra work. And there are always some that need a little extra on the other end as well. I like the format that you have out. It just, the thing that I have trouble with is the time frame. And that's what I have an issue with, because knowing that, like, say, and I don't know, I don't want to say a specific grade because I do think we have amazing teachers in the building, but I want, like, every second grader, and you said that you couldn't give me a guarantee, but there has to be a framework that we can coordinate the whole community to be behind and know that this is what our first graders, second graders, third graders, this is the framework that we're working on, and this is what we want them to master. And as a community, as administrators, as teachers, as parents, as students, this is what we're moving forward for, and this is what we need them to be successful for in the year. And that framework being available to parents before the children start the school year, and the private assessments that you take in the classroom on a daily, hourly, minute, weekly basis are the things that I look for to be communicated with the parents on a very open and natural basis. I want it to flow. I want the communication between the teacher and the parents in her classroom to be just so fluid that there's no question. Like, I'm hearing that there's issue with the math program and maybe some miscommunication on how things are taught. I have to say that I remember being in the very same situation that maybe a lot of the young families are in right now. I was taught regular mathematics. When everyday math came in, ooh, heavens, the world could have shook in my house during math homework time, because to have my child tell me that I didn't know how to add and that I needed to do lattice work. And I remember that the administration at that point in time too, the building administration at that point in time, had implemented the curriculum, and Mahesh Asham had been in the building working with us, I mean, and all the students, but they had forgotten the piece because it was a new curriculum. They had forgotten that bringing the parents in and showing the parents how to do it and introducing the parents to it. And maybe if there's books out there available, you know, the kids are like, oh, I don't bring home a workbook. Well, we're the generation of, we need the book to see it, to study it, to learn it, so that we can teach you, especially if it's something new. So we've been in that situation where there was a new program implemented and we were lost. So if that's what's going on now, that's something that we should have probably nipped in the bud the first couple weeks of school and said, hey folks, we've got something new. It's not everyday math, it's not regular arithmetic, it's math and focus, and this is what it's all about. It didn't happen, and I'm saying that it's happened. So now that we know that it's happened, there has to be a parent book that goes along with that, or a website thing that parents can go to. There has to be, we have the portal program now that parents should be able to email their teachers with ease. If it can't be a phone call, which I would prefer to talk to someone, because over an email I can't tell if you're mad at me because I asked you the question. And everything's going to be in caps because my kid just pushed the button and it's going to sound like I'm screaming at you, or whatever, that etiquette. But I understand that. I just want to make sure that the kids in our school, and we do have successful kids graduating, but there are things getting overlooked from classroom to classroom because maybe one teacher loves something a little bit more than the other teacher loves it, and maybe they just need to share that. And if they share that, and it can be all put on this, and I love that idea. 3 years is just too long. So maybe I'm going to say, and maybe I'm going to look at my other board members and say, maybe we can give them the flexibility of saying, hey, why don't you look at this and see how you can get it done quicker, because we want it implemented by the next year. We want it done so it's this coming year. We don't want it to be 3 years. You've got this summer to do it, and we want it implemented by fall.
What are we implementing? That's the problem.
Well,
Therein lies the problem. What's being implemented? That's the problem.
I think that they can look at everything that we teach, everything that is important.
What is International Fair?
International Fair is a great event that happens in this building where every class takes a different country and they learn every aspect of that country, the language, the food, the art, the clothing, the everything, and it's just part of a celebration of the whole international
Okay, but
world.
are they learning about our country?
They are.
Yeah.
Yes.
They learn about everything, and if you remember correctly, we had kindergartners come in last year and do
Yeah,
songs
I
and dances
remember,
for
but
us.
as long as it's not an international influence that is coming into the school. Because I would have a real problem with international influences dictating what's going to happen in our school.
I don't believe
Yeah,
that
I
that's
don't
the
think
situation
that's the
with this
point
at
of
all.
Okay,
If
well
you-
I just want to be,
On my committee report, I'll let you know when the day is, and you can go around and have all the baklava and calf tides and all the other Greek lovely food and the
Yeah.
Mediterranean food and the spicy food and all the
Include
cheese
me on
and
that one, 'cause I
and,
love that
and we can
program.
all go, and that's gonna be, it's on a non-board night this year, and you can go and see it. It'll be great.
It's an
Alright.
incredible
But
program.
I'm not impressed at all with this current curriculum work. Not in the slightest. I mean, you can see why it's taken 3 years. Because they're teaching to a test. And they gotta make sure that the kids pass the test. Because that's what this is all based on. Teaching to a test. I have a total problem with the whole thing. And, I mean, you can see right through what's happening here. And it's not acceptable. Oh, Bob, sorry.
I do agree with Bonnie, 3 years seems like an awful long time to get this implemented. Is there something, Mr. Tracy, we can do to speed this up other than substitutes in classrooms, and what else can we do to make this happen in a year, basically, or beginning of this coming year?
Provide more time for teachers to do the work, which would be going over our substitute line in the budget, which would also be teachers have to agree to be working past their contractual hours. We can't require teachers to work over the summer or after school. So we're trying to work within the boundaries that we currently have, monetarily as well as with our current contract requirements.
So,
The last professional development committee meeting that I was at, the entire meeting discussing verbiage of data mining.
that was your group, not the other, that was your particular group?
Yes, it was my particular group, but now you can understand why it's gonna take 3 years. Because you're discussing the verbiage of data mining, and as far as I'm concerned, data mining better not happen in this building.
And we already told
Yeah,
them
we
that
already
we've
discussed
already
that.
discussed that and told them that if they saw any samples of that or any indication of that whatsoever, that was a red flag and we wanted to know about it, that we did not find that acceptable.
But it's all part of what's being implemented.
Maybe we look at a different test then. Maybe we look at in-house assessments. There are different things we can do. It doesn't have to be that one particular test. And I think that if they get this part done, you have to get a basis set. And I think unless you tell them specifically what guidelines you want, and just because Massachusetts is
Department of Ed is not gonna allow it though. That's the Department of Ed is saying, you must data mine your
So you're
children.
saying we have to
Steve,
follow
that's
that
not true.
test and?
Yes, it is. It's part of the smarter balanced assessments.
so maybe we choose.
Do we
And
we have to follow that?
Can we just opt out of the smarter balanced assessment, Mr. Dorsey?
I haven't heard if that's an opportunity or not, but I'm sure I'll find out about it in the coming
No,
months.
it's part, data mining is part of the smarter balanced assessment.
But if we could do that, we could do that, right? If we can opt out of that.
The discussions currently around using other assessments as your local assessment to demonstrate student growth.
Would that be like the Ohio standardized test or one of the other tests that they use? Would it just be a different test, or would it be in-house assessment?
For me, the best option is using performance assessments based on, so we develop those assessments based on the competencies that we've developed locally, and we utilize the performance assessment option to demonstrate student growth. So there is that option.
Okay.
So,
That's a pretty good option, I think.
yes, it is.
However, I need to caution you with the discussion around the state, especially with the Smarter Balanced, even if there is that option of performance assessment, which would be primarily for all of the students, there would still be restrictions about testing on Smarter Balance for at least 3 of the grade levels, a primary and middle school and a secondary.
They have that all. What do we do already for that? Is it kneecap?
Correct.
We already do kneecap in the same formula. Is that correct?
Yeah, 3 through 8 in grade 11.
Three in grade 11. So that
But this
are
would only be
3 grades.
like 3 grades.
So no matter no matter what standards we choose and no matter what testing we choose, there's always going to be that one test that's required to show that the school is teaching what it needs to teach.
So what?
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, big deal. So you take the test. Don't answer any personal questions and take the test. I think that I think assessment's important on that end, but
To a point, but this is far overdoing assessment. It's wasting too much time on assessing and not enough time on educating.
And I just want to make the comment that the work that the teachers are doing currently, I'm very impressed with, because they're actually engaged in developing documents that are detailed and do provide that continuum of learning. So I commend the teachers for the work that they're doing.
Oh, it's not the teacher's fault.
so
I understand, but the documents that you have in front of you were developed by teachers.
by the teachers in the building.
And I want to commend them for that work, because this is not an easy task to take on, and they're taking it on enthusiastically and doing a very nice job.
So do you maybe all think that we could ask how to do it quicker?
That's what I did ask.
I think we need something better and quicker.
Well, I guess I want to know, what do you mean by better? When you say better, do you mean, I guess I need to know what you consider better. I consider better making sure that every child leaving this building and graduating from Wakefield and Spalding can pass an SAT class, pass an SAT test with a perfect score, maybe getting 2 wrong. I want them to be able to get into any college, any university, any career they want to go to. I want to know that our kids are stellar and that they are there, and that's the goal I want set. And if that test is what standardizes everything, I want them to know all the math, all the science. I want engineers and doctors and philanthropists.
You're not going to get that with Common Core standards. Why? If just like you said, you want doctors, you want lawyers, who doesn't want kids to be the best they can be? If you want kids to be the best they can be, why are you using substandard standards, which, to begin with, which is what you're basing your curriculum on? Use a higher standard to begin with and move beyond that. Don't dumb it down and start from down here. Start from up here and move beyond, so that the kids are. You can't expect kids to be the best they can be when you're starting down here. I believe the Massachusetts standards are there. They've been proven over the course of I believe it's 4 years, they've been the #1 in the country. Why don't we use these? If Massachusetts has shown that they're the #1 state in the country for the last 4 years, why don't we use these instead of using something down here? Start high, begin higher, move beyond.
I think California would probably argue with that statement about Massachusetts.
Do you, Michael, how are you basing what you're deciding? I'm gonna, both of you, how are you basing your decisions on what to set for standards for the children in this district?
By what the Department of Ed tells them.
Are you looking maybe at some of the Department of Ed things and saying this is adequate? And then are you in this also looking at stuff, and are our teachers looking and saying, wow, they're not asking enough and we've got to add this, this, and this in? Or they're asking way too much for this grade level and we need to do this, this, and this. Are you doing that as you structure this already?
As a structure, the detailed conversations around the standards and what the standards actually mean is what's helping develop the full document.
Okay.
So understanding that and finding if there are areas that they currently are doing that could add to that is being part of that discussion. So that is happening among those professional development days. So as for the standards themselves and the decision in moving forward with the standards, I would look at that decision had already been made when a math series was adopted based on Common Core. So I still raised the question, why is this coming up now?
Well, I'll give you that answer.
I'd like to know, please.
What you just said, Mr. Tercey, was a math program was based upon Common Core.
The math program was developed using Common Core standards.
To this day, Common Core has never been explained to anyone. Everything that I know about Common Core, and I know I don't even know probably 1/10 of it, has been because of my own due diligence and my own research. I have a real problem, and I know this is all, it's top down, so you're being told, don't tell anybody as we're sliding this in.
I'm not being told that at all, Mr. Brown. Nobody's telling me that I have to do this, nor are I'm saying to anybody in this district or any district or even in my conversations around the state that we are required to do this.
The New Hampshire Department of Education is not promoting Common Core.
The state board has adopted the Common Core.
Right.
However, the locals have the option to not adopt it. However, this conversation should have happened years ago.
But we were never given the information to have that conversation years ago, and that's probably one of the biggest problems. And we're still not getting the information. We just attended a meeting, 2 weeks ago, down in Concord. And the title of the meeting was Common Core, Common Misperceptions, What Every Business Needs to Know About Common Core Standards. Why was it? Here it is part of the title of the meeting, Common Misperceptions. The 4 of us were there. How many misperceptions of Common Core were presented? 0.
Actually,
0.
I know, I think that there were some.
No, there was not. There absolutely was not.
I believe that there was, because there was a gentleman there who had to start his own school because the standards that had been taught in the area that he was looking for employees had not been taught 4th and 5th grade math sufficiently enough so that they could take the placement test for his business.
Yeah, and it came out to what was his starting pay? Under $25,000 a year? You're not going to get people who are going to be educated in the math that his company was looking for when your starting pay is less than $25,000.
4th and 5th grade math for a $25,000 a year job is counting back change, being able to read a ruler, being able to set machinery, and the fact that he had to start his own school because he couldn't find employees shows me that what was being taught or what is being taught in that specific region isn't high enough of a level that they know what they're doing.
There was nothing shared at this meeting. Okay. Nothing. Once again, there was nothing shared. Heather Gage was there. She's been here. There was no information being shared about the Common Core standards. There is not.
Mr. Tercey's hand is up.
Go ahead, Mr. Tercey.
So is it the will of the board to change your vote? I need to know because we're putting a lot of time and effort into developing curriculum for math and language arts, specifically language arts, based on Common Core standards. So I need to know that sooner or later. I asked for a vote months ago on that. And
well, I'd like to see something better because the Common Core. That's what I meant. Mary.
I would really like details about what better means. If you can take a look at the Common Core state standards. If you can look at the standards and actually give us how you want those redone, like give us some specifics, that would really help me understand what you mean by you want more. But I need some specifics. I can't go on, we want more, without having something.
Well, hopefully
go
we're
on.
gonna find the more in here, once we get a chance to get to go through it. But, you know,
What I see. I like what I see. I like the work that's been put in here. I like the detail. I'm anxious to see what the rest of this looks like once it's printed. I want to see what else is being worked on. My biggest concern is the time frame, and that, and once this is done, this is going to be something that we can look at as a board. I mean, you're the educational professionals, and we have to trust you when you say that this is what our kids are going to know. You know that my goal is to have every one of them pass SATs. I want them to have the foundation, and I want their 7th and 8th grade. I want foreign language. I want, if they need a VLAX class, or we have smart boards if they need to go into the library or into another room and sit in on the class that's taught in another school, Rochester Middle School or wherever, so that they're getting the education they need to be fulfilled as students within this building, that they're getting it. And I like that idea. But if we can get this done and implemented, then we're going to be able to look at this and say, after the first year, okay, these are the things that we kind of missed, you know, and these are the things that we need to vamp up, and we need to have extended areas of this. And this is going to be a good baseline for them to say,
you
I
like,
did.
You like this?
I like this.
No, I'm asking you if you like this.
The teachers worked hard on that, and not
I'm not
knowing.
saying they didn't, and like I've already stated, it's not the teacher's fault, because the teachers are just doing what they're being told to do and follow along. But for this, I not anything against the teachers. It's not the teacher's fault, but I have a big problem with all this is doing is dumbing it down to pass a test. That's all it's doing.
But if we could.
It's clear to me.
But if we could deviate from that, which we can find that out, or try to find out, which we talked about, is that.
But, you know,
I get what you're saying, Steve, I do.
But I guess I'm really frustrated that it's clear that these aren't the best standards. So why are they so adamant? Why can't we start off better and move beyond?
Right.
We don't know that in what they're working on right now. This is what was done last year before Michael was here.
Oh, no, that's this year.
No, this is what happened
Oh.
before Michael was here. This is what Michael and Mary are working on right now. We have to give them the,
Which is-
and
which is-
Jerry,
Oh, no, this is this year,
This is when we started,
2014.
this is what was started here in December.
of
This right
this
here
year.
was started, what was started in
December.
December.
Okay,
Yeah,
I thought that
And,
was
you know,
last year, so
No,
it
it's not.
was
It's the
this year's work.
13-14 school year, Bonnie.
right.
I guess, Steve, I'd like to know what part of this you don't like.
To be-
No,
to be-
specifically, sir. You're telling me you don't like this document? What is it
Yeah.
about the document you don't like? What's
The entire document, Jerry. What I'm seeing here is that what this is doing is keeping the kids in.
Tell me which one.
Every
Which
single.
standard? Which
Every
standard?
single one of them.
What was it
It's
before
too-
you didn't like?
Pardon me?
What was it before that was
I
better?
I like this one better than this one.
What part of it?
The entire document.
I need specifics. I can't get what you're saying is that you don't like about this.
It's
Because they
it's
have-
spending. I think it's spending way too much time, and why it's going to take 3 years. That's the problem. It's spending too much time on the information in this particular document. That why it's going to take 3 years just to pass a test.
Mr. Brown, what would you like for us to do?
I think I've already explained what I'd like to see happen.
I'm looking for specifics.
Well, to be specific, I'm going to need to review this documentation.
And then you'll come back to us and say, we want to adopt the Massachusetts standards?
If If they're better than Common Core, absolutely.
And you'll make that decision as a board member.
Absolutely.
But isn't this the same, this is actually improved upon, and it's just a different layout than what this form is. But this actually has more in it than this does.
It has substantially more
And
information
it might be
in
a
it.
little different, but
Right.
it's the same, it's,
And it'll eventually end up in this document. All of that will be in this one document that will show a full year. And then each unit will also be broken out in the same format so that you'll know under autobiography as the first unit, we'll even have that unit laid out in specific detail. So it's going to be extremely detailed and much more comprehensive than what was done in the past. And I want to honor the work that's been done in the past. However, for me, I need more detailed information provided when it comes to curriculum.
Barney, this
That's
here is-
raising expectations, just as
Yep.
what we've been talking about.
This document here, it goes, as you can see, it goes into its first grade.
yes.
And if you think about page 3, at the very bottom,
Which one you talking about, John?
page 3,
It's
on this year's document,
Yeah.
W.1.8
Yep.
goes into with guidance and support from Delta, recall information from experience or gather information from provided resources to answer our questions. That's a pretty appropriate goal for a first grader. And if you flip over to page 21, and you go down to just about the bottom 3/4 of the page, part 2, it goes into the detail of what they're going to do over the course of 5 days to achieve standard W.1.8. Once students understand what an autobiography is, they begin to gather information with the help of their families. They're going over autobiographies in first grade. I'm not sure that's dumbing anything down. I don't
thought
see how
that-
that's been dumbed down.
I don't either.
Well,
I'm happy.
I just don't
I
see
just,
it.
I'm happy with
I'm
what's
sorry,
been
but I
done
don't.
personally.
On that standard there,
The time for you.
It's the time.
No, I just, overall.
and that's why I'm
Overall.
asking for specifics.
Well, I think we need something in place, and this is some good work that was actually done here.
Yeah, but I think it's focusing too much on language arts just so they can pass a test.
So take the test out of it.
You can't.
Well, we can, maybe can take that test out of it.
I
You
don't,
can't. The state's saying you can't.
I'm looking at what you've done for this
Maybe
first
it's
grade
good
and
answer.
what the first grade curriculum is, and it's great.
They've done a stellar job.
I think they've done a great job. Am I a little concerned because we see so much of the younger grades and we're not seeing a lot of the older grades? I just, that's what my concern is.
That's right.
Is it the time frame?
And all we did for this presentation of information was just to give you a sample of grade 1, just as Mary had said, all the grades are doing the same work, including our unified arts.
Mary.
I just want you to know that it's our intent, as Mr. Tercey said, to move toward the performance assessment, and these documents actually have performance assessments built into them. So the move to performance assessments will be extremely
smooth.
easy and smooth and seamless once this is all done, once this work is done.
Now, you're talking about is that the Smarter Balance assessment that you're speaking of?
The performance assessment is the option 3 that we're talking about. That's that third option that the state is, with the accountability task force, is looking at with PACE.
Ralph, those are assessments developed by the teacher to assess the work that they're teaching in the classroom.
More of a concept locally as opposed to being
Locally, yeah.
handed down. I mean,
Yes,
I've
sir.
definitely, I got some biased opinions that I'll keep to myself right now, but only because they're biased. I'm not fully informed, and I need to be fully informed.
That's the
before.
problem from the beginning here, I think,
Right.
this whole thing.
Right.
I think maybe if 2 or 3 years ago with different administrations and stuff, if the words Common Core was coming down the pike and people at that time were fully informed of everything that it
Right.
implicated, and they accepted it at that time with a lot more information than what we have now today, it would have been,
But all we were told was, it's coming.
I understand that.
That's it.
I
That's
understand that.
all we were ever told. It's coming.
So
What's coming?
what's in?
So
And
what
now
is-
it's here.
what is our
And this
timeframe?
looks disturbing.
What is our, do you want time to read over this and we'll talk to
Yes.
Mike, well, can we put curriculum on the next?
Sure.
And maybe we can have, maybe you can put what you think is better,
I
what
mean,
you
do
think
wanna
is
take-
better.
Do you wanna take up a meeting for this, to do that?
I think that it should be, I think it should be a workshop and we should just air everything and get it all out and done.
We really have to do it
Because
that
this
way.
is ridiculous. We're having them waste time and effort on things that we're not unified about, and that's not good for the children. If we can't be unified about it, how do we expect our staff and administration to be unified about it?
That's why the information should have been more than it's coming.
It's,
3 years ago.
that's not his fault.
Please don't put words in my mouth. I never said that. But we have a big problem here. And I believe the first thing that I said tonight about this was, the biggest problem I have about this is that there is no information being shared to the parent, to the board, to anybody. And that is a problem. But the bigger question, but why? Why is this information not being, there's gotta be a reason why the information is not being shared, and for such a minute part to be so adamant about standards that are inferior to other standards that are already out there, and the information for a minute part is not being shared.
Why can't we share?
That's a
Why
problem.
can't we share it now?
We can share it now. We can ask for everything now.
And you've gotten
Boatloads.
many documents of Common Core information. You've researched your own information. We had Emery Banfield here. We had Heather Gage here. You've attended some workshops regarding that. So the board, in my opinion, has information, and you've made a decision. You had a vote, a 4-1 vote, and it sounds now that we need to re-look at that vote. And I need to know that sooner than later.
Well, I think the public is asking for that too.
Right. But the problem, Heather Gage was here, but she offered no information. Nothing. I gained no information from Heather Gage. Zero.
I need some direction as to what you'd like for me to do, because we're moving in a direction right now, and if I need to change that, I need a whole new game plan.
Should we be talking to the parents of Wakefield and see what they want?
Yes.
We could do that if that's what you'd like for us. We could do that.
You
Ask
think
them what
Bonnie's
they
I-
want.
I think that's what we need to do.
I think we need to have
I-
a forum and
I
talk
don't
with the
think it's
parents of
decision the school
Wakefield.
board either, really.
And I don't think it should be, I feel like the 5 of us are making a decision and we're gonna have parents that are gonna be,
The parents should be part of the process, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But that's the problem. The part of the process that's missing here is the information.
what information do we need? What information do you want?
From A to Z about Common Core. Why Common Core standards versus a better standard? Why this curriculum based on Common Core?
Are you thinking like past reading, writing, arithmetic in correspondence to what they're asking now? I know, take a deep breath. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get you upset. I'm just, I want to know what, like, I've gone to all these seminars with you, and I've listened to everything, and there's pros and cons about everything. And yes, I think that some schools are more studious than others. Like, if you're going to a private Christian Catholic school, it's a very strict academic environment that has a lot of homework, a lot of parent involvement, and then public schools maybe not so academic, maybe not on the same academic level as a private school. And do I wish that we were right there? So if the kids wanted to go to Cheverest or Macaulay or Waynfleet or something like that, that they'd be able to slide right into that other school? I would like that. I would like to see that. But when you say better, what is your better?
Probably you're going to find better right here.
Okay.
During the discussions at the Department of Education, wasn't there a number of curriculums that could have been implemented or embraced? And some of the discussion, wasn't it that Common Core may not be the most difficult set of standards, but it was going to be implemented more because it was easily adopted around the whole entire country? Is that what brought New Hampshire to the Common Core standards?
The process, they vetted this prior to 2010. So prior to 2010, they were asking all of those questions. There were groups of people that were getting together to have these conversations, including parents, teachers, administrators, community members without children in a school system. And that was vetted. I don't know how many years it was vetted prior to 2010, and then it went to the State Board of Education as an adoption. So all of that happened prior to 2010.
As the homeschoolers are tested, it seems that a lot of homeschool kids are entering high school, and they're a step ahead of their peers. What are the standards that they're held to? They're not held to the. I mean, what kind of testing do they? What kind of testing do they have? Like a scholastic achievement test that is given to them that
They show their work by portfolio or take a state test to show that they've achieved what they have. But you have to understand that every homeschooling parent has the choice of what curriculum they choose to teach their child. And it can be a more rigorous curriculum per household. And it can be faith-based, it can be artsy-based, it can be science-based, it can be stronger in math. It's the choice of the parent.
And the assessment's the choice of the parent as
And
well.
the
See, anywhere
assessment's the
from
choice.
the Iowa assessment, California achievement test.
So are you promoting that homeschooling would be better than public education?
I didn't say that. I'm saying that those parents have the choice over what curriculum. And a curriculum that could be superior for one child may not be the same for a different family.
Well, that could be the same thing for Common Core here, too.
It's that same for everybody in the world, but there's going to be competition and studying and hard work in anything. Little competition never hurt anybody. Little studying never hurt anybody.
So, can we agree to do some homework here and at the next meeting discuss this?
I don't know if it should be a meeting or maybe we need to have a workshop, and maybe it's time that, the 5 of us have debated this with them every meeting for the past 6 meetings. Maybe it's time.
And we still don't have all the information.
And maybe we have to bring the parents in.
Because we're not getting the information.
What do we want? We have to give them a detailed list of what we want, or they can't give it to us.
A Common Core?
Information.
Yeah, but
I'll
what's better?
direct you
That's what
to-
I want to know that. What is better than Common Core? And we might find something in this, Steve, but we don't know that either. You could say it may.
Well,
may be
I
in there.
forget, I apologize that I forgot to bring it. The New Hampshire Department of Education themselves admit that Common Core standards are not the best standards.
Did they admit what was better?
Yeah, that would be nice to see.
Right. But they admit. So, what is it? If they're admitting that they know these aren't the best standards, so why are we wasting our time? If they're admitting they're not the best standards.
I don't think we're wasting our time. I don't think we know what's better right now.
But no, Bob, you missed the New Hampshire Department of Education admits that the New Hampshire Department of Education knows that Common Core standards are not the best. If the Department of Education knows and is admitting they're not the best standards, then why aren't we using the best standards?
I agree, but I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody
I'm
does.
going to ask
I'm gonna ask you a question, I'm gonna kind of put you on the spot. You know what the New Hampshire standards are. You know, I'm hoping that you all have a really good view of what you think would be the superior curriculum for our kids. I'm thinking that you know that. In knowing that, do you think that you could explain to us what you think the best for our kids can be? Knowing that maybe the New Hampshire standard isn't it.
Mr. Chair, that's the discussion that your teachers are having right now as they're doing this curriculum work.
That's
because
right.
they know these kids very well. And they are designing these units with those kids in mind. They have taken this work really seriously and have put a lot of work into this, and they know what would be best for the kids and know how to present the material the best to the kids. That's the work right now that's happening.
And Mary hit it right on the head. We have faith in the teachers that doing this work, knowing the kids so well, and our building administration as to what's best for our kids. And I just feel that I don't want to flounder through this process and need some direction.
Well,
So, Mary, do you think all the teachers in the Paul School approve of going this to the standard?
Okay. I think in the very beginning of the work, I think they were pretty overwhelmed. But as we're getting into the work, there is more excitement in every single time that I'm working with any of the teachers regarding being able to actually take it and design it around your kids in mind. I mean, it really is pretty powerful stuff when they say, oh, but you know what, we've got to do this because, you know, these kids aren't going to be able to do this, so how are we going to scaffold this learning in? What other things that we need to provide? And what about the other kiddo who's already there? What are we going to do about that kiddo? So those conversations are already happening. And that's what's so exciting about the work that's happening. So do I think so now, yes. I think there are some ones that still kind of probably need some more explanation, and those are the ones that are not actually using the core necessarily, but are using the national and state frameworks. They don't have as direct experience with some of this work as the teachers do.
but to that point, Mary, I am sure that the teachers would do the same exact thing with better standards. They'd be asking those same questions. Go ahead, Mary.
Once again, I would really like the specifics of what that better standard is. If you can give that to me, I'd be more than happy to do this work with that better standard.
Well, this is what we hope to find out, because, you know, when you have the New Hampshire Department of Education admitting that they're implementing standards that they know are not the best. I want what's best for for kids here in Wakefield. Why aren't we using the best? Why do we have to use something that's not the best? If there's better out there, we need to use what is out there that's better than what we're using right now. Well,
Is there a historical record, minutes, discussion about this issue at the Department of Education that we could research?
All the minutes of the state board meetings are available on the
They
New
have
Hampshire
available.
DOE website.
So that's all
All
I
the
had.
past, so you're going to want to look at all the discussions that happened prior to 2010. I think it was maybe summer of 2010 that they actually adopted it, and then there'll be minutes after that as well that you can look into.
Thank you very much.
was part of you said this was all vetted out prior?
Correct.
That it was with teachers, parents,
throughout the state.
throughout the state.
Invitations were sent out.
Priscilla, did you ever receive an invitation to anything on Common Core?
I feel like you guys were blindsided. I really do. I mean, we really heard nothing, Steve. You were on the board, I was on the board. This is fairly new that it's really come up.
The only thing that it's coming. What's
We
coming?
didn't know what was coming.
That's what we were told. It is coming, period. That's not acceptable. This is far too involved to leave everyone hanging at, it's coming. Bob.
Steve, I know we've been doing this for an hour. Can we move on to something else? What's our next step for this? So we can go on to all our other agenda items.
Well, I would respectfully request of all of you, we're not receiving the information that we need. So I'm respectfully requesting that all of you put some time in and research this, because I would like someone to give me one example of something that's better about Common Core. I have not seen anything that, through all my research on Common Core, and I've been doing this for a while, more than 7 months that I've been spending a lot of time, and I cannot find a single solitary thing that will benefit the children of Wakefield. And you would think if there was anything there that would actually be a benefit to our children, in more than 7 months, you would have thought someone might have been able to find it. But I have yet to been able to find it. It's an abomination. And what my concern is that it took the powers that be 20 years going through No Child Dragged Behind before they realized, oh, wait a minute, and that they would admit that there were faults within No Child Left. I don't want to be sitting here 20 years from now going, why did we do the same thing with Common Core?
That's why
That's
we're having this discussion, really.
That's that's what I see another No Child Dragged Behind with Common Core. I really do. And I think it's a shame to waste another 20 years. I mean, think about it. You've gone from No Child Left Behind, now they got this new, latest, greatest thing, but they're not sharing the information. That's a red flag to me. Because if this was so great as everyone is professing it to be, there should be bells, whistles, parades going down the street. But they're not. And there's a reason for that. And if you do some research, I think you'll start seeing it. Because I don't see any benefit to Common Core. I'm sorry, I don't see any benefit to it. I think it's going to hurt our children more than it will ever land up helping. I see no benefit. So, can we, yeah.
I just want to make the board aware that we're going to continue on this work until we hear differently.
And I'll bring in that piece about the next meeting about the Department of Education admitting that.
You sent it all by email, didn't you?
No, I forgot to print it off. That Department of Education admits that they know these aren't the best standards, and that's what I would like for the students of Wakefield is the best standards. I think have we talked this enough for one evening?
Yeah, for tonight, yeah.
Mhm.
Can we-
We beat that horse so many times, it's got a big bump like a camel.
Mhm.
Like a camel
Someday.
now. We'll beat the camel to death.
Someday.
Alright, combining new land parcel with the existing school parcel.
Just Mr. Chair, we were discussing, Andrew and I were discussing that a vote was not taken about combining the two pieces of property. So I think it would be a good
You're
idea.
asking to make a boundary line adjustment so that the boundary that's in between this existing parcel with the buildings and that new parcel to be parking lot is eliminated, right?
Right.
One tax bill.
Mhm.
How much would well, I mean, that's gonna involve a survey.
Oh, we just need to, everything's been done to do that. The only thing the town needs is the board's vote, that the board is allowing us to do that. All the paperwork's been filed, and all they're waiting for is just something in the minutes to show that the board approved.
I'll make a motion to recommend that we ask the administration to seek a boundary line adjustment in order to blend these two lots together.
I'll second
Yeah.
that.
For discussion, what's the benefit of doing it and any con of not doing it?
Well, if we don't make a vote, no action can be taken by either the administration or the town.
I understand that. I'm talking about a benefit to combine the two parcels, and is there any con of not combining the two parcels?
Well, if you eliminate the boundary line in between the two parcels, in the future, you wouldn't be able to, without a survey, you wouldn't be able to move that out of the school district's possession. I mean, I don't think there's any intent to do that, so I mean, I don't see a problem with.
Come on.
I think
Yeah.
if it's becoming part of the school, it should just be on the same land line, one tax bill, and
It would be
tax-
cheaper,
just
too.
unify
no
it.
tax bill.
Yeah,
Hmm?
that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
no.
There's tax
No
bill.
tax.
Whatever,
It's tax exempt.
it's tax
Yeah.
exempt, but I just think that it should be all on one piece, where it's adjacent.
It seems like it's a loose end that could be tied up with the vote of the board.
All right. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. Superintendent evaluation.
I have, something that I can give you from, if you wanna pass that down.
Thank you.
Is it, no, extra one is mine, I'm sorry.
Once it goes this way, you think.
I know,
Yeah,
once
you
it
can
goes that way, it
back.
can never come back. What it was is it's, actually Mrs. Colbath gave it when she went to the Kidder Law Conference, and went to Barrett's, presentation. This is what New Hampshire School Board Association recommended that boards look at when they are looking to, make and do an evaluation of their superintendent.
Can I get a copy of
Will you make me a copy?
Can.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
that? I didn't hear you.
Oh, you know.
Oh.
We're gonna get a copy of the Common Core. But I was kidding.
I'll print those for you, Mr. Fogg. Or you can go online and download
it's
the
like right here.
I'm
document.
not as funny as I think.
Did you ask for this to be put on?
No, I believe you did.
Oh, just so that, I didn't necessarily ask for it to be put on. I wanted it to be brought up to us that it's something that we should be considering doing sooner rather than later, where the end of the year is coming.
what I included in your packet is what our current policy is and the current document. That's within our policy manual for evaluation of the superintendent.
Can I just say Steve was party to that document you left with me?
Of devising the of
Yes.
writing it?
Yeah.
All right,
So do we each personally fill this out and then give the results back to you and you can sort them out and then have a meeting with Mr. Tercey? Is that how this works?
It almost seems like it's derived from the same folks that ask us to evaluate ourselves.
mm-hmm.
Do we want to maybe each take time and put this on the agenda next time and see if there's any issues that any of us have?
Can we put it on the agenda 2 meetings out?
Sure.
'Cause it seems like the next agenda's almost already full.
All right, good point, Mr. Fogg, which is,
Is that all right? I mean, you don't mind if we don't hammer on you next week, right?
So you want us to hand this back in? You saying?
Hold on to it. You know,
Look at it,
We'll
go
get
over
there.
it, and see if there's any changes that you want to be made before we all do it.
if there's something you don't like, or you have an idea of something that you'd like to see in it.
Kind of like yellow and blue.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay.
and then revisit it the first meeting of next month.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
Uh,
that's tabled to the next meeting.
Two
Next-
meetings.
Two
Two
meetings.
meetings.
First meeting of next month.
22nd.
Administration, financial reports.
Any questions on the expense report?
Textbooks were down almost 1,300. New furnitures and fixtures were down 471.
With the exception of guidance, every function in the expense report is under budget. And guidance is only over because we didn't budget for the individual because of the new person's health insurance.
The change of insurance.
But overall, you'll still have over $900,000 left on the expense report.
So that's less than a tenth of the entire budget. We got less than a tenth of the school year to go.
You've got pretty much 3 more months to go. Because this was as of March 27th, so you have April, May, and June.
How about office support, Jerry?
How is that the difference from having, we voted to give more time to the additional secretary staff?
I think
That
that's
wasn't-
exactly what it is. I mean, but
Yep.
that would be my expectation.
Check for sure. Look at it. Any questions?
Other than the ones I just posed, no.
The revenue report? Any of the financial reports?
I don't have any on the reports, but can you explain to me what we're doing in regards to the letter that we got from Vashon Cloquet? Like what, I guess it was a little, what have you done in building?
Okay, the letter you're referring to, the result of the audit was just, the only issue they had was with the student activity account.
Well, and there's a lot of student activities accounts, aren't there, or is there just one?
That's just one account. They were talking about just how the receipts are being handled and the disbursement. Last week, I actually met with all three secretaries from the three different schools, and we went through it, and they're all going to be adhering
They
to
know
what
what to
the-
do now to
yeah.
make sure that that's not an issue?
It's not a monetary problem, it's just a internal control.
It could have been a monetary problem, because there could have been funds put in the wrong situation, so I guess
Yeah.
that's what they found, so I guess that I'm asking, I wanted to make sure that that was taken care of and it
Yeah,
won't be an
We met
issue.
last Wednesday morning, a week ago today, or last Thursday morning, I should say, and I met with the three school secretaries, and they're all on board on what needs to be done.
That's wonderful, thank you.
With a specific schedule and a consistent process for recording and reporting.
That's wonderful.
You're implementing these recommendations.
It's already implemented, yeah.
That's great. Do we need,
I have, grant overview. I think I would like to see a workshop where every line is itemized as to what we're spending the money on, where specifically the money is going, and what specific strings are attached to these monies. That's what I would like to see. Because every time you take the government's money, there's usually something they want in return. Pardon me?
Do you want to do a workshop on that?
Well, whenever, I mean, want to give administration some time to put that information together, and
Why don't we ask for some of that information or all of that information for the next school board meeting, and then we can have the workshop after that? Or is that?
so
I
we
think
have
it's-
time to review it before we go into the workshop?
no, that's good idea.
So what we can do is we'll print out the entire application for every one of these grants, and it'll lay out what the money's being spent on.
And do
And you
those
can ask
necessarily, the only way those grants are received is there's a grant writer, right? Somebody realizes there's a grant out there and they have to write certain things in their application explaining what it will be used for.
The only grants that we receive here in Wakefield are our standard federal entitlements, which is Title IIA, Title I. Title I being the largest, and we have those monies come to us every year, we have to submit an application as to how we're going to spend those monies, and then that's approved, and we do that annually.
So what would you be giving us?
We'll give you we'll give you a printout of the actual grant application that was submitted to get approved for the use of these funds, and that's how we're spending that money.
It'll describe it.
He wants to know what did you say? What comes along with taking the money?
Right, there's usually when the government gives you money, they usually attach strings that they want.
Well, that would be in the grant, if there was, right?
Before.
Well, that was gonna be my next question, because I don't think that the strings would be involved in that. It wouldn't be in there.
So there are assurances that you have to sign off for getting these, and we can provide those as well for each of those entitlements for your review.
Right. Would it be, can you get that for the next meeting?
Sure. Yeah, all the applications are available. We can print them out and
How much more reading are you going to give us for the next meeting?
I know, talk about homework.
Yeah, some of us have to work full-time, and you've given us like probably 800 pages already. We might have to put that off another meeting.
We can put it off another meeting.
I'll take the information, I just might not be able to meet on a workshop within a week of it.
so would you like that in the next board packet? And then you can determine what you'd like to do with it from there?
Yeah.
If you could.
Okay, so yeah, if it can be in the next board packet, and then we'll make a decision on when we can.
Just like this, receive the information, take it
Right.
next time.
Now, do we need to make any motions or anything for this?
I also included in your packet a copy of the fiscal year 2014-15 budget, adopted budget. This shows exactly what was voted in by the vote. The only thing that might possibly change on this, which I don't see it happening, if we don't have the fund balance at the end of the year to cover the warrant articles that were coming out of the June 30th fund balance. I don't see that happening at this point.
Okay.
If that does happen, I'll let you know.
Alright, thank you, Andrew. Miscellaneous questions and answers. Anybody have any answers or questions on that?
Those are some of the questions that I asked, and the answers are sufficient.
Are you all set on that? SAU 64 parent survey.
At our last meeting, there was a request of the board to put together a survey. That came out of the discussion of our conversations with Rochester and their area agreement, and potentially having conversations with Governor Wentworth about establishing an area agreement. So I drafted a letter to the parents and guardians, and would like for the board to offer some suggestions as to whether there's some edits or some statements in there you'd like me to add or send out as is.
Do you think we should add one about increasing the percentage from 10 to 15%?
It might be that they say pursue both. And if we pursue both, then that means that we're going to have to pursue more of a 50-50. I don't know.
Well, you're talking about the numbers could be, because only picking one, you're saying the numbers, the results could be close.
I think that they should be able to pick more than one, because what if they have one child that wants to go to, you know what I mean? Some families, it might be better to have more than one option.
Yeah, but if they pick one, that's going to be, give us clearer lines.
Okay,
And I thought that's the intent of putting this
okay.
together.
You're right.
Yeah, if they mark more than one, it'd be very difficult to do.
It'd be a gray area.
Yep.
Are you sending this out to all Wakefield parents, high schoolers included?
Yes.
Right down to K.
Mhm.
Right down to kindergarten. Thank you.
And if you approve this tonight, then I'll add a date to it.
We'll make a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve this form letter to parents and guardians.
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.
And what about the date? What, is that April 11th date firm?
I just felt that I put that date there just so we could get some results back and have a discussion at the next board meeting.
Are you gonna put a self-addressed stamped envelope in with it? Or just ask them to send it back?
Costly.
In my wording, I said just drop it off at the Paul School.
High schoolers don't usually come here though.
We could do that if you like. If
How much
you'd
would
like.
it cost?
I don't know what the total cost would be, but it would be a cost. Haven't priced it out.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it. I wouldn't recommend.
Okay.
But do you think the 11th is enough time to get it out
That would be
and get it back?
9 days.
$100 means that some of the high school students are gonna send it back. Are we not concerned about the kids that are in high school right now and we're only looking forward to what's coming up?
Don't know. That's not what we mean.
It's gonna be $100 to send it to everybody. Self-addressed stamped envelope, they mark it, send it back.
Okay.
I think it might be worth $100. If you,
I'm saying high school.
We
I don't
might as
know.
well do it that way.
No, I bet not everybody's office in their house runs like mine, so.
That's for sure.
Just clarify, Bob, but that's for like,
Second
for
round.
just high school.
Yeah.
You're talking just high school, yeah.
Yeah.
Just high school.
So it wouldn't even be $100.
Envelopes, everything, so just kind of throwing a rough out there based on cost of stamp.
I think it'd be worth the cost, I guess. I was thinking 0, 0, 0, 0.
So
Well, that's gonna-
self-addressed envelopes for the high school only.
And maybe just change the wording that they can send them back, or please utilize this.
April 11th enough time for everybody? Do we?
I'd have to do 2 letters then for high school because I wouldn't have a self-addressed envelope in the one that goes.
How about if there wasn't a second letter drafted, I guess you can't really give it to the people in the, you don't want to give it to the folks in Rochester, they might kind of.
It's better to send it directly to the house.
We would mail it directly to the house. Just like we did with the residency letters.
We talked about that.
But do you think, because, tomorrow's the 3rd, so that's only giving you 8 days.
Put the envelope right in there, they check it, lick it, stick it, and put it back in the.
The faster the better.
Yeah,
They'll lose
quicker the
it.
better. Sorry.
We could have them out by Friday.
Alrighty.
Okay,
So,
res-
it wasn't, we already did the motion and all that good stuff. eh?
Yes.
Just discussion on the date. Okay, thank you.
residency report.
Mr. Chair, before we move on, is it okay if I dismiss Mary for the rest of the
Oh,
agenda?
yes, I'm sorry,
I
sorry.
should have caught that earlier.
Yes, I apologize, Mary. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Included in your packet is enrollment by grade for pre-K through 12. as well as an update on the residency forms. So you can see currently in grades pre-K through 12, we're right at 600 students. And you can see it broken down by the school and by the grade. You also see on the residency forms for our Paul School students, we're missing 4. And for Spalding, we're missing 2. However, I received 1 tonight, and I have confirmation that the other person does live in that household. We're just waiting to get the residency form. So I'm hoping by tomorrow that number will be 0
For Spalding?
for Spalding.
How are we doing on
Excellent.
Paul School? Is it the same 4 kids?
I think we're down to 2 or 3 of this. I know we got 1 or 2 in. Yes, there's somebody was jumping up and down, so I know we got a couple in.
Okay.
All right, very good. Good job.
I like the
Thank you.
report like this. Thank you
It's
very
one of-
much.
it's one of
for
the better
adding-
years that I've
Yes.
seen.
Adding everybody in. I really like that. And then if we ever get a question about enrollment, we're gonna know it without having to bebop back and forth.
And if you like, I'll provide this on a monthly
I
basis.
would love that if you could provide it on.
Once
a
we get
monthly
to
basis.
0, we don't.
Well, no, I like these numbers because they
Oh.
do fluctuate, and if we get a question on enrollment, we can go to whatever file we put it in and we can know those numbers right
I
away.
mean, whatever file you put it in?
It would be enrollment on that tab over there, yeah. At least one of us can pull it out when it needs to be,
That's always a good thing.
yeah.
Update on board scholarship.
I'd like for everyone to know that I had drafted a letter and an application that went out to all of our seniors at Spalding, Kingswood, Brewster Academy, St. Thomas, Seacoast Christian Academy, and the Gaffney Library for the $500 scholarship. So I'd sent that letter to all of the guidance counselors, as well as directly to the Gaffney Library to get that information out to the students with the application. Those applications will come directly to the SAU office. They're going to be gathered at the guidance office in each school and then delivered to the SAU office, and then we'll put together a specific committee to review those applications and make a determination.
Okay, thank you. Principal evaluation.
This was a question that had come up between last meeting and now, and what I included was what our current policy is for the principal evaluation and also the forms that I'm using to evaluate the building principal.
Where he's twice, where he's in his first 3 years, have you already done one for the year?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
New principals will be evaluated at least twice in writing for each of the first 3 years. Have you already, so that would be, does that mean he gets evaluated twice a year? And have you already done one?
What I've done so far is we established annual goals, and we've been meeting frequently throughout the year discussing those goals. And then Mr. Gregoire will put together a reflection of those annual goals, and I will finish going through the rubric and meet with him again. So we start at the beginning of the year with written documentation, then follow-up meetings, and then final documentation at the end is based on this rubric that's been developed. And I continue to have conversations with Mr. Gregoire, particularly around the goals and these specific standards. And the way I use the rubric is to demonstrate a continuum of learning from an administrative perspective based on the standards.
It's like a pretty good procedure.
School board business policies.
These policies went to the policy subcommittee at our last meeting, or here for the board for their approval.
Someone want to make a,
Do you care if I do a blanket motion? I'd like to.
no,
Okay, go ahead.
no, I don't mind.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve policies GBEF, School District Internet Access for Staff, GBEFR, Acceptable Internet Use Procedures for Staff, JICL, School District Internet Access for Students, and JICL-R, Acceptable Internet Use Procedures for Students.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Committee reports? If we just,
I have one.
what's that, Bonnie? Harvey,
I have one when you're ready.
you wanna go?
No, you can go first.
Okay. At facilities today, we discussed, well, not necessarily just the kitchen roof, but actually pretty much, the entire building. They're going to get back with us. We discussed, the dumping of the parking lot material that we could possibly be able to dump over out and back. Mr. Tercey is gonna check on that for us. The heating loop, we have put that on hold for now. And the tree removal and demolition is, that one's going back out, right? Right, that's going back out for an RFP. Go ahead, Bonnie, you had?
I went to the Wellness Committee for the first time on the 26th. The International Fair will be May 14th from 4:30 to 6:30. We discussed a staffed vending machine. I guess we just all kind of said why. And student fundraisers and an Easter note in regards to spring celebrations in regards to Easter.
What was the date of the fair?
The date of the fair is Wednesday, May 14th from 4:30 to 6:30.
That's on the opposite.
That's actually on an open Wednesday, so we can all participate this year, where we went and got plates full of food last year, tried on a couple masks, and then we dove in here to come to the board meeting, so.
You mind making me a plate? Because that'll be a Milton board meeting night. on
I
Wednesday
could
night.
probably save you a plate. I'm hoping that the
Please.
baklava
The
is.
platter would
The
be
food
better than
goes
just a
fast.
plate.
The food goes fast, but I guess one of the things that the Wellness Committee was talking about is that we need to make sure that it's adult servers providing ample vinyl gloves and individual serving dishes so that it is more hygienic.
Really?
Yeah, and more trash bags, just so you know.
You can call them sick to Milton.
I could supply my own platter then.
Yeah, me too.
All right. Public comment. Mary?
Okay, I wanted to know if the parents are involved in choosing any of the textbooks of use in school?
I've only been involved in one selection of the text committee, the math and focus, and I don't believe we had any parents on that committee. I don't believe so, if I remember correctly.
Are parents involved like in any of the subcommittees?
I know that we
Yes.
have one on the Wellness Committee.
That's it?
Yeah, I think so.
Are parents allowed to join in conversations or be part of the committees or?
I'm not sure how the process has been in the past, Mary, about how people are chosen for those outside, except for the wellness, because that's included by law. I wouldn't preclude parents from being involved at all. I mean, whether it would be the tech committee or curriculum or anything of that nature, I actually would appreciate parent, investment and involvement.
Jerry, to that, what about if we had like a monthly or a quarterly meeting set up just for that, for the parents?
Yeah, I don't know if you see my Wakefield Weekly at all. I have included and asked, for parents to come to a coffee with the principal for some input from parents. I had one parent show up in my one I've had this year, which is part of the goals that I've developed with the superintendent. And we have another one coming up here on April 21st, excuse me. And hopefully people will be coming and looking for that input from parents to find out what they like about what's going on, what they'd like to see get better and what they don't like.
It's just basically in the school.
And that's in the school, I'm sorry.
So what you're having is something just, she's asking about.
I'm just saying, he was asking for any input. I'm saying I do solicit input. I haven't had a great response, but I certainly would like to have parents involved in the committees. I just haven't done that myself.
Is that allowed, Mr. Tercey, to get them on committees like that?
Yeah, sure.
I think it's a
Absolutely.
great idea.
So April 21st is the
April
next
21st.
opportunity
At
for
what
parents
time,
to come.
Sharon?
I think it's 9 a.m. I'd have to double check.
Mary, did you hear that?
No.
April 21st at 9 o'clock, Mr. Gregoire is having a coffee with
Oh,
the,
coffee with the principal?
yep,
Mhm.
and to discuss any issues you might, or anything you'd like to
Bring the
suggest.
coffee.
or
Bring the coffee.
bring the coffee.
Let me double check. I'm just pointing out a date. I may have the date wrong. Let me just double check real quick.
That's why they don't show up.
Yeah, that's school vacation week.
Oh, so my apology. The 16th. Another something else on the 21st. The 16th.
But do you think, would it be possible to maybe put something together for,
An opportunity for parents to request to be involved in committees. I think it's good. We also have to be cautious about inundating a committee with too many people, because it then becomes more difficult to work with. But certainly, you have, like with the wellness committee, having one or two parents in there that want to be involved. Absolutely.
Yeah, and set limits to that.
Yeah.
but what about just, getting some information out to parents? Getting some parent involvement into,
It would probably come through the Wakefield Weekly and make that request, through there. And I think most people do read it. We have it on Facebook. It gets a fair amount of likes, or not a whole lot of comments.
and where do you find that?
On the Paul School Facebook page.
Is it possible, we don't, I don't have children in the school anymore. How do we can we maybe get copies of those with your report when you come?
Copies of
The weekly,
the
I
weekly?
don't Facebook, so
How about if I have it included in the
In the
packet?
packet.
Principal's report?
yeah,
Yeah.
that would be great, just to see what it looks like.
Is it just Paul School or is it Paul School Wakefield, New Hampshire under there?
I think if you went and looked if you would just search Paul School, New Hampshire,
Oh.
it's something. I can't get to it from here. We block it through our internet, so I can't access it from here.
Huh.
But
You can have the Wakefield Weekly email to you.
Oh,
we can include in the suit also.
you have to just sign up for it.
Yeah.
It's on the webpage too.
And it's
Mhm.
available in the office
Yeah.
each week. They have,
Outside the office.
yes.
Thank you.
I think it's a fantastic goal to set as a group for really promoting community input and putting together forums for the community to have those conversations.
Mhm. You all set, Mary?
Yeah.
So,
This is from their union leader, Chairman Tom, I think it's Raffio,
Mm-hmm.
of the New Hampshire Board of Education announced on Wednesday, March 26th, that districts will not be given waivers to opt out of Smarter Balance. Raffio claims opting out will jeopardize the state's federal funding. I don't know how accurate that is, but that was in the union leader. You had a question about that? I know I just have to make a statement here and not ask questions. I guess I don't know what's lacking in the New Hampshire state standards and GLEs. Are they better than Common Core? Could we take the GLEs and the state standards and meld it with Common Core, the good parts of Common Core? It's not a question, I'm just making a statement. And I find it hard to believe that teachers at any one grade level aren't teaching the same thing. That's why they have grade level meetings, and it's my understanding they have the grade level meetings so they're all on the same page all teaching the same things.
Did you ask for this,
We all did, we all did at the last
do we,
meeting.
we haven't discussed this, do we? Want to discuss that before we go into non-public? Well, I mean, yeah, I think it's a good idea to look into a timber cut on
And
that
we-
property.
We still need to go through the process of creating a warrant article, which would
Oh,
set
well,
up a
with-
capital reserve fund or some sort of,
Andrew says no. That's one of the questions I had.
If you're going to set up a trust fund with the money you use, then you'd have to have a warrant article to set up a trust fund.
You could just put it in the regular budget.
But if you just show it as unanticipated income, then it goes back at the end of the year to the tax rate.
right. And I'm thinking of, if we want to do a cut with a specific purpose for the spending.
Then you have to do it as a warrant article for
Right.
specific spending.
I mean, I see the parking lot as a huge expense, I see security issues still as a huge expense, and, you know, I think that the town would probably support a warrant article
Absolutely.
with those things in mind, to help try to offset the cost of those specific issues.
Well, then,
We're actually having, I forget the name of the company, come out and give us an estimate if there's anything worthwhile to timber harvest on the land.
That would
It's
be,
already been done twice, so there's probably not a whole lot left to do there.
oh, it's already been harvested twice?
Twice, yeah.
Well,
When?
it was,
Back in 2006 and in early 2000 by the two previous owners.
well, the Prezios harvested it, and then when they sold it, I think that was, it may have been harvested again. I know that the folks that sold it to the district did not harvest it.
Okay, so we have
But
someone coming out.
going out there and looking at it myself, you know, I believe there's substantial timber standing today that is harvestable.
but we need warrant articles.
That if you have a specific purpose, if you're not trying to offset the budget, you know, or just send money back to the town.
So, but what I'm hearing is this might be something that would be better put off till next year after we can get a various warrant article next March.
I think we need to be able to work on the wording of that warrant article before the budget season approaches in October, November.
This is something we need to be working on now so that we can be prepared.
Yeah, so that when we're ready to present it to the voters through the budget process, deliberative session and all that, it's not last minute, we're not getting accused of not having public hearings.
We'll keep
Things
this
like that.
information, Andrew, and once you get the results of the gentleman coming out to look, can you also give us that? And then we can set up a time to work on the warrant article and what we specifically think at the end of the year that we need it to go towards?
I know a logger in town that said, I'll give you $25,000 today and the rest when we're done with the harvest. He knows there's quite a bit of timber out there, so.
Maybe you can give Andrew that
You know
information.
that could happen?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe you can give Andrew that gentleman's information.
I could, certainly. He'd love to go out there with the other guy too, probably.
Yep. Keeps him honest.
Local guy,
Can
right?
I have a motion to go into non-public under RSA 91A32C, tuition requests and nominations?
I'll second your motion.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Frog eye.
See you, Ryan.
Brown, yes. Thank you for coming.
Have a good night.